Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Garage Gym Experiment podcast. On this week's episode, we have John Greaves III from Garage Gym Life, and he's going to be with us for this two-part episode. In the first episode, we'll chat about the survey results from last week, where we asked the Rogue versus Titan, time saved in the home gym struggles, knurling preferences, and more. In part two, we'll do a deep dive into John's home gym experience, his business, and chat about what he's seen in the industry over the years. So with that, Jake, take it away.
All right, let's start off with Rogue or Titan if you could only have one. So we did kind of put Titan in a tough spot going up against Rogue here, but they did receive 93% of the votes, which is pretty dominant. So that's quite a bit over 10 times the amount that Titan had. Do you guys have any thoughts on this one?
I'm not really surprised that Rogue did so well because they are so entrenched in this industry. I remember when I first started my home gym, Rogue didn't exist. We only had like York Barbell, we had Iron Mind, and Rogue came along as a result of CrossFit. And so to me, it makes sense that people are comfortable with Rogue. You recognize Rogue as an equipment supplier, but more importantly to me, their warranty option is so much more robust than Titans is that it makes me just feel better. Even if I didn't know the company, it would make me feel better about Rogue versus Titan. Titan has a limited warranty. It's for a year. And if you do the natural thing when you get the product in and is maybe something's missing or doesn't quite work exactly like it should, and you go try to adjust it, trying to make it work, then you might have just voided that warranty. Whereas with Rogue, you have multiple warranties on their website. They even warranty wood for, I believe, 90 days, which to me shows that they've taken, not only are they lifters, but they also have taken the time to understand the tolerances and the wear rates of each thing that they sell. And so because they've done that level of research, it makes me feel better about going with their company because they didn't just say, okay, well, one size fits all. And if you try to do anything to avoid having to call us so you can just keep on using your product, then you're kind of just screwed.
Yeah, I also wasn't surprised about, Rogue's dominance in this one. I voted Rogue, but I also tried to put myself in like the shoes of someone who would pick Titan. And what Titan has that like Rogue doesn't really have a lot of are those plate loaded machines. So if you're coming from like, the commercial gym side of things and you want that look and feel, you can also get them for a fraction of the cost compared to other companies as well. You might have chosen Titan on this one.
Yeah, I think as the data says, most people are just choosing barbells, dumbbells, racks. I mean, the Rogue racks are quite a bit more than Titan racks, but the dumbbells and the barbells, the overall price difference, if you're able to purchase a good amount up front, isn't too large. So Rogue does really have high value options all around. But like I said earlier, tough matchup for Titan here against the most popular strength equipment company in the world. Next up, so this is kind of a follow-up from our last week discussion where we were discussing like, do you actually save money by owning a home gym? And it kind of morphed into this times dollar value conversation. But this week we asked, how much time a day do you save by owning a home gym? So only 7% said that they do not save any time at all. 7.5% said less than 15 minutes. Over 50 said between 15 and 45 minutes. And then a massive 45 minutes or more are saved by 35%, which is pretty huge. I would personally put myself probably right around the 45-minute mark. So I don't think it's too big of a stretch for a lot of people. And then before I ask you guys what you guys think of this, just to, again, follow up from last week, where if you actually quantify this, let's just say you are saving 30 minutes a day, you multiply that by 6 times a week, multiply that one 52 weeks, and then you have 156 total hours, which is just under 4 work weeks. Do a little math, and if you quantify 156 times 20, that's over 3,100. So if you are able to kind of find a side job with the amount of time you save by a home gym, then you're paying for a home gym right there. So you can ultimately save money. Yeah, so I added that one in there. But if we go back to the amount of time saved, You guys have any feedback or thoughts about this question?
Yeah, the thing that jumps out to me that I really would love to study more are the people who say they don't save any time at all, because I don't understand how that's possible. I would love to see how they're spending their workout time. And I'm not judging anybody. I'm just saying that you've got to assume that you're saving whatever. I don't care if the gym is 5 minutes away from you, you just cut out that commute time. And so what are you doing within your workout to make the total workout time end up being the same if you're at home versus if you have to actually drive somewhere? It's like if I had a home office, I wouldn't expect that I would not save any time at all by just walking downstairs to the office as opposed to having to commute to somewhere. That to me is the biggest thing. And I even look back at it and say, well, maybe it's because you're there in a home gym, but they get interrupted to change a diaper. Or like for me, what happened recently is there was a leak. So I'm in the middle of squatting, there's a leak. I have to stop and go check on the leak. But I don't necessarily see that as time wasted. Instead, I see that as time that I got back. Because if I went to a public gym, that same leak happened, I'd come home and I'd still have to spend that same amount of time on the leak. So comparing apples to apples, I can't see how somebody wouldn't save any time at all by having somewhere to work out right there, as opposed to having to drive to the place.
Yeah, the no time also confuses me. I'm guessing that 7% of people have like a really unique situation, like gym in their office or some kind of cheat where they can say they don't save any time. I actually voted more than 45 minutes stretching and warming up like throughout my day and then walking right into my basement to work out. You know, if I went to a gym, I'd have to roll out and get all my stretching done there in that specific time, whereas I can like incorporate it to like my daily life and then just walk right in. So I save a ton of time.
I actually will add to that. I interviewed Stan Efferding a few years ago, and he had, at the time, he's owned one of those Iron Addicts franchises, and he also had a home gym. And I asked him why he had a home gym when he had a full gym not far from his home. And he said, time. He said, because even though I own the gym, he said, when I'm at the gym, I'm sure this changed now because he's now moved back, gotten rid of his home gym equipment. He just trains at the gym he owns. But he said at the time, if he started trying to work out, people would come up and ask him questions in the middle of a set. Hey, Stan, can you help me with this? Hey, the bathroom sink is leaking or whatever, overflowing. He said, so it actually saved him time to have a second gym at his house where he could train. So if someone who works at a gym, and I used to work at a public gym, if someone who works at a gym thinks that they save time by working out at home, I would love to study it. Like I said, I'm not judging anybody. I would just love to study the habit patterns of the people who feel like they don't save any time at all. So that'd be something, if you're watching, please, for my own personal, satisfaction, put in the comments. If you don't save any time by having a home gym, just put in there why you think that is.
Yeah. And I will add just as a caveat that when we do ask this survey question, or when we ask the survey question, what is more important, the amount of money saved for a home gym versus time saved, the time saved one wins out by like 4 to 5 times more. So it's definitely an easy win for the amount of time saved. And I think most people wouldn't disagree with you if you said that the biggest benefit to owning a home gym is the amount of time that you end up saving. All right, let's move on. This is a good follow-up to John talking about the diaper in the middle of the workout or the leaky roof. But what do you struggle with most during your home gym workout? You could put a number of different things here, but we simplified this to finishing strong, warming up, or moving at a good pace throughout. So the most popular answer here, or the biggest struggle, I should say, was actually moving at a good place throughout with 42% of the votes. Warming up was at 41%, so just behind, and then finishing strong, not too big of an issue. I guess once you get going, it's not too tough to finish strong. But so warming up, much more difficult than finishing strong. But those distractions during the home gym, it seems like that was probably the reason most people ended up picking moving at a good pace throughout. And then like my personal experience is like, for me, I work from home. I've been working from home for like 3 or 4 years. And if I'm not able to like get a morning workout and I try to sneak it in during the middle of the day, which is actually what I do most of the time these days, it can be a struggle to like not look at my computer, not bring my computer out, type some stuff out, bring my phone. You know, I'm always looking for content, bring my phone out, taking pictures, like, I should just be working out, getting through it, being more efficient overall. And I imagine even if you're not reviewing equipment, but if you have your computer at home or you're just on your lunch break and your kids are home, it can be difficult to get through. And I'm guessing you guys feel me here, but I'd love to hear what you guys would say.
So I hear that. I hear that completely. But at the same time, I then have to flip back around and say, it depends on what you're using your training session for. Are you using your training session to make you a better athlete, to make you a better human, or to get some specific goal related to the workout? So this is a little bit more involved. So I'll break each one into some component parts. So if I have a powerlifting competition coming up and I need to get my sets in and I'm interrupted by, this has happened, these are all real life examples, and I'm interrupted because I have to change my daughter's diaper. I can either let that stop me, or one day it hit me that in every powerlifting meet, there is some sort of delay. For whatever reason, maybe they misloaded the person in front of you, something, maybe somebody got injured, whatever, there's a delay. Maybe they called you out and they loaded the bar to someone else's weight. I've seen all those things happen. You then have to clear your mind, come back out and be able to execute despite that distraction. I can't think of a better way to train yourself to be able to turn off the switch, turn the switch back on, and still execute than being at home and having things interrupt you. Because my little girl, she's 7 now, so she does understand. But there was a period of time when she didn't understand, Daddy can't talk right now. Daddy's going for a 1 rep max. He doesn't get it. But that also turned into, the segues into the better human thing. I think having a home gym made me a better dad, because with all 5 of my kids, 4 of whom are now adults, I was able to use the home gym to teach simple lessons. And this all plays back into the struggle. For example, learning to wait your turn, because that's the cue when they're very young. If it's time for a set for me, it's Daddy's turn. So they learn to wait patiently till Daddy does whatever he has to do. And then I also reinforce to them that no matter what else Daddy is doing, I'm always willing to stop and come to you. That to me made me a better human. I also say, as far as the struggle goes and being distracted by things, I try to use that as a positive. There's a reason why Benjamin Franklin used to go for walks and work out with dumbbells. It's because exercise stimulates your mind. So I actually get some of my best ideas in the home gym. And at the very least, I run over and I write it on the dry erase board, because you know if you don't write it down, it's going to go away and you will never, ever get it back. So I go run and I write it on the dry erase board at the very least. But there's also the fact that some of those organic moments where you come up with an idea tend to be some of your best ones. To me, that makes me a better athlete, makes me a better human. And I already said it makes me, it's made me a better dad. So there's that. For me personally, the thing I struggle most with is being respectful, because my wife has a home office and it's not making noise, because, slamming bars down is not very, very good when she's on a conference call with all the people that are in her team and they hear this banging in the background. I definitely can't punch the heavy bag, because they're like, what's going on? Is somebody getting beat up? Is there a mugging occurring? So that's the biggest thing I struggle with, figuring out how to time it.
Yeah. Mine is moving at a good pace throughout. And I think I have too much control in my home gym. I want, the perfect background media to be on. I want everything right. It's too much control. It's my own enemy. But I had to laugh, John, when you said, Daddy can't talk right now. He's doing a 1 rep max. My son comes up with the most outrageous questions, like mid lift every time. And it's like, I can't talk. Stop.
Can't talk right now.
And then afterwards, you break it down to him. It's like, what's your question? But that made me laugh. So,
but I'm saying, like, once again, it's like, so you could say, depending on how old the child is, but at a very young age, they get taught, even in school, wait your turn. So it's funny because my kids, some of my boys, I could tell they started working on raising their hands to ask a question, because we're in the home gym and they had a question. They want to know if they could eat something or watch something on TV. I don't remember what it was, but they came in, they stood in front of me and raised their hand. So I just said, well, 1 second. And then I did my set, got back up, and I said, whatever, what is it? But that, like I said, it's actually to me, it's a good thing for both of you. Because I don't really know, my wife is a triathlete. And I remember going to her triathlons, and there were things that would go wrong. And you'd have to be able to just shake that off and go. And when I competed in powerlifting, there are things that they go wrong. Somebody misloads a weight and you've got your knees wrapped, your toes are going numb. So they tell you to unwrap your knees. So all that psyching up and slapping yourself you did, you got to do all that all over again, because you got to go right back to it. How are you going to when are you going to train yourself for things going wrong? Except for when things don't go according to plan. To me, it makes you a more, maybe the word is resilient. It can, if you use it correctly, be a tool to make you a more resilient athlete all around.
I mean, that makes sense. And I will say, like I expressed difficulty about moving at a good pace throughout. And quite honestly, a lot of that just comes down to like discipline. If something does come up and you lose your focus, it's still on you, like you said, to get the rest of it done. So yeah, just because it's a difficulty doesn't mean it's an excuse. All right, let's move on. One other bit of information. So for a lot of you who don't know, we have been doing surveys for over 3 years. So we have quite a bit of data from years previous. So we asked this question also in December of 2019, also like during the cold months. So maybe that had something to do with it, but warming up was 56%, was voted as the biggest struggle by 56%. Just 30% were at moving at a good pace. So weather might be part of it for the winter months. And then also keeping in mind just the continued rise of social media. Maybe that's interrupting the moving at a good pace. All right, let's move on to how likely are you to purchase a product your favorite athlete promotes? So not very likely is, at least people don't want to admit it. So only 6% said very likely that one of their favorite athletes would help them choose a specific product. 27% said they were at least more likely. And then over 2/3 at 67% said it makes absolutely no difference. Well, I threw in absolutely, but it makes no difference. Curious to hear what you guys think. Do you think you're swayed by your favorite athlete?
Well, no, but I'm interested to see, because this is the basis of influencer marketing. I'm interested to see if they change it from your favorite athlete to your favorite influencer, because I would bet you that most people in our space are swayed from this bar or that bar, by what the reviews are by someone that they know, like, and trust. For athletes, I think the issue is that people don't necessarily associate the athlete's success with the products that they use. And so there's a little bit of a disconnect. We don't assume that Ray Williams is that strong because he uses a specific knee sleeve. We just assume that he's going to be that strong regardless. But if someone else does a review of that knee sleeve and we've come to know, like, and trust that person, that could sway us. So I think that's where the dichotomy is.
Yeah, I think I like the way you said it, Jake. People not willing to admit it, because these companies pay tens of millions of dollars to people to wear their stuff and to promote their stuff. And it's got to be for a reason. And it's a spike in sales, right? So yeah, I think subliminally we're influenced by this stuff, and then we make purchases, not associating it to where we saw it or why we bought it. But it definitely makes a difference. I think I'm okay saying, like, I would probably be persuaded by an athlete using a piece of equipment that I was also interested in, and saying, like, oh, he used it, and maybe I will too.
But see, that's the thing. You were already interested in it.
Right.
I'm looking at it like, what if this is a thing that I don't care about at all? Yeah. So I'll use an example. There's this coffee, is developed for coffee originally. It's a scoop, and it's got a little funnel on the end. So you can use it for protein powder. You scoop in, and then you can use that same thing to scoop let's say not protein powder, but maybe BCAAs. So you scoop in there, you got a water bottle, you want to safely get it into the water bottle without spilling any of it. I was like, this is genius. Well, I didn't even know I wanted that until I saw Don Gianfardino, who founded Addicts Clubs. It was obviously a sponsored post, but he's holding up the thing. He demonstrated how it worked. I said, oh, that's genius. I ordered it immediately. Yeah. But prior to that, I wasn't looking around for coffee scoops.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe where you said influencers, like people with the reach to introduce like a good product that a lot of people would have interest in.
Because I think it's harder for you to identify with your favorite athlete. You respect them and look up to them, but that doesn't necessarily mean that there's carryover from what they have, their results to you, because you don't have their same situation. Whereas an influencer, you assume is closer in life circumstances to you.
Yeah, you guys both brought up some really good points. So one, John, definitely going to rephrase this question with influencer in mind next week to see how this compares. And I think it's a really good point too. Just like you might relate a little bit more with an influencer as opposed to like LeBron James, you know, saying like, oh yeah, he wears Nike, so I should wear Nike. And I think Adam, you made a good point too. Like a lot of it too is just like, just because the companies are doing this for a reason. I imagine it's for general awareness as part of it. Like, you know, LeBron James probably has like 20 million Instagram followers. So if you study marketing, you know, it takes a lot of different like marketing hits could take up to like 20 different marketing promotions where you're finally like, I'm going to buy that. So yeah, I think a lot of it plays into it and we may just not realize it. Next up, Knurling Preference. So very little wanted it passive. Nearly 57 say moderate, 35% say aggressive, and only 5% say as aggressive as possible. Any feedback there? It's okay if you don't.
I just want to know what the demographic is that wants the aggressive knurling. I would assume it's people who are into some form of powerlifting. Because if you're into Olympic lifting, I don't know that you necessarily want or need very aggressive knurling. If you are just into casual fitness bro lifting, for lack of a better phrase, I don't know that you necessarily even know about aggressive knurling and the benefits of aggressive knurling. So that's something else that the home gym experience is so diverse that just asking home gym owners what they like as far as knurling goes is difficult to then parse it back down, I guess is what I'm saying. That's my only reaction.
Yeah. So I will say like about 40% total say that they'd like it to be at least aggressive. That pretty much aligns with our data saying how many people relate to being a power lifter. And then lastly, we just have some miscellaneous ones. I'll quickly run through these. You guys just let me know if anything is surprising or you want to chat about it. So 31% watched at least some of the CrossFit games last week. 40% classify themselves as an equipment snob. So this has risen a few percentage points ever since we began asking about it in 2019. I believe it was somewhere around 32%. And then, yeah, it's kind of ticked up a few percentage points each time. Instagram is the favorite social media platform for 78%. Keep in mind, people are answering on Instagram. So that's just one of those things with all of our questions. You have to keep in mind it's home gym owners answering these questions and they're on Instagram. But it is important to note that we did ask this question in 2019 as well. That was 84%. So it didn't drop quite as much as I would have expected with YouTube and TikTok kind of rising. 64% would rather improve their bicep size versus 30%. 36% saying mile time, kind of telling you who our audience is. It's not a lot of Peloton riders, for example.
I'd rather fight than run.
And then commercial rated is at least important for 43%. Anything there that catches your eye or all of this kind of makes sense?
It makes sense, but I have a question for Jake. So Jake and I guess you would classify us as currently hybrid athletes trying to run and lift. Jake, Would you rather improve your bicep size or your mile time?
Definitely mile time.
Oh man, I was opposite.
Really?
Yes. Trying to run far, not fast, with huge biceps too.
I mean, I would choose mile time. I think like a really good mile time is, I think, probably more impressive than a good bicep size. So at least for someone at our size,
Don't you have to be running for that to you? Don't you have to be running at the time for that to be impressive? Your biceps are impressive standing still.
It's true.
Yeah,
True.
that's a good point. I don't know, guys. It's a silly question.
I love it.
Well, and it also looks at like what you need to improve. I mean, if I ask, I really don't know because I don't follow it. But if I ask someone who's an excellent marathoner, would they like to have bigger biceps? Maybe, as long as it didn't interfere with their performance. But if I ask somebody who struggles to climb stairs without having to stop halfway to rest, then maybe they would like to improve their cardiovascular performance a little bit. So
yeah,
perspective. That Instagram thing is a big one. It's like one of these inside baseball things because I'm looking at it from, as I'm sure you guys are, from the perspective of a content creator, because you want to know where you can put your stuff to actually get your message out to people. And Instagram, at least for me, Instagram is a non-revenue producer. It doesn't produce revenue. There's a less awkward way to say it. Whereas YouTube does. From day one on YouTube, well, not day one, as soon as you get to like 1,000 followers, you're monetized. And as long as you have the watch time, you might only be making 30 cents, but you're making money.
Yeah.
Whereas on Instagram, you have to hit certain thresholds and certain, to a lot of people, including me, incomprehensible rules in order to be able to actually monetize what you're doing, which may not matter to people watching, but you have to understand that if I'm making money at something, it makes it easier for me to do more of it because I have more money then to turn around and invest back into it. And so unless I have some sort of independent revenue source, I'm less likely to be able to make content. So to me, if Instagram was more revenue friendly towards content creators, you see a lot more content being created without all of the, say, go to the link in my bio and click my code or, to save 10%, because people wouldn't necessarily need that in order to generate as much revenue. So you'd end up with a cleaner interface, which ultimately comes back around to making for better content for you. And I would say, to just compare that to something else, look at public television that doesn't produce revenue versus commercial television that does. Which one would you rather watch? The one that has money behind it. So there you go.
That's an interesting take on that. I like that.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's definitely been a shift over the past few years as well. So
because I know people who are content creators on Instagram who are still waiting for the Reels check they were supposed to get, just for example. So it's like, why are you, then it starts to, I don't want to say it demotivates me because my reason for using Instagram is different than my reason for using YouTube, but it can demotivate you if you feel like you're putting in a lot of effort, time, and you're actually putting money into it and you're not seeing any results. That can discourage people.
Yeah, no doubt. And it's definitely much more difficult to grow right now as opposed to 5 years ago. So anyways, I think that's going to do it.